Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello viewers, I am Shivani and I welcome you to this edition of School of Thought. As Greek philosopher Aristotle rightly said that man is a social animal. Well, that statement is being said and heard for ages now, but what's changed over the time is the dimensions of being social. In today's time, being social doesn't just mean visiting an old relative or a friend, but being connected over social media. Internet has provided us countless options now to connect and chat with friends and family and be socially active. But don't you think that this digital well-being is somewhere hampering our physical social behavior? Well, to ponder upon this thought, we have with us today our bright young minds who will debate about whether social media is making you social or not so social. So without much ado, let's begin this episode of School of Thought. We have two teams with us. One who believes social media is good and as a team are called the virtual world. And the other that believes social media is not so social and they call themselves the real world. So I request first the virtual world to voice up their opinion.
Hi, I'm Advika Harisuk. So there are approximately 4.8 billion social media users, out of which 59.9% of them represent the global population. So having a platform where people share their likes and views not only help like-minded people form communities, learn about other cultures, but also help introverted people come out of their shells. So we recently just overcame the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, right? So that affiliation was made possible through social media because we were able to connect with each other. We were able to share information and even help others donate, right? So it helped people mentally as well because we were not totally isolated. So while the world was going through such a traumatic experience, we were able to connect with each other. There were platforms like LinkedIn which helped people get job opportunities, and apps like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they help promote small businesses. So with kids at home, it would have been impossible to continue our schoolings. But with the help of Zoom meetings, Skype, Teams, etc., we were able to connect and continue our education. Yes, I believe that sometimes social media can be much, but there are so many more times where they can help us more than we realize. So in my opinion, the good overcomes the bad more.
Introverted people are coming out of their shells, right? But if you're introducing social media at even younger ages, you're giving it to children. Children have access to accounts, their social media accounts. The feelings of envy, there's jealousy, there's FOMO, there's loneliness, and there's depression, for a matter of fact, that's coming at such a young age, and that's not right. Right? So what is your take on that? Because you said good is overcoming the bad, and there's so much bad, there's so much negative.
But what about the good? See, I feel like having emotions or feeling something is better than just getting depressed and getting isolated. See, I feel like depressed is too much of a big word to say, but loneliness, in my opinion, is more bad than not feeling emotions, right? So through social media, people who are very shy and they're not able to, communicate with others, they have a very much difficulty. I feel it is more easier to connect through social media than face-to-face interactions, because there are so many times where during face-to-face interactions, we get shy and we want to say something, but then we realize they might think that I'm weird or that I'm like not up to their remark or something, right? So in my opinion, through social media, even disabled people are able to communicate with each other.
So also when you made a point about children using social media, I think it's not social media's fault. I think it's not proper, but technology
surveillance on the children.
I would say technology in general.
But there's like a lot that goes into it. There's the family dynamic, there's the parenting, and there's so much more that goes into a child's psyche. You can't just blame all
social
of their
media
problems on social media.
You mentioned a point where you said social media helped the students during online classes.
Yeah.
But one of the leading reasons why students had lower attendance in online classes was social media. What are your opinions on that?
But see, if there was no social media, there would have been no schooling whatsoever, because during the pandemic time, it was it was literally not possible for others to go out of their house only, right? So I feel like something is better than nothing if you think about it, right? So because of social media, we weren't able to see, the pandemic continued for almost 2 years. So those 2 years of education we would have wasted if it hadn't been for social media.
Moreover, I mean, we've all heard of the slogan, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, right? So there has to be a balance maintained. If you continuously study, even during the pandemic,
Yeah.
as you said, if you continuously studied and did not talk to your friends anyhow, how would that be a true balance? There was some kind of social interaction needed, and that was what social media provided in the pandemic.
See, I personally, from my personal experience, I can say that not because of social media, I am still the person that I am, because without social media, I would have been lonely, and I would have been a shell of the person that I am today.
All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, that is true. But when we were attending online classes, I think all of us can admit to slopping off a little. So, social media.
Are you saying we don't do that in school? There is no bunking whatsoever?
No, but bunking, that is another thing. Because if we are bunking, then we are actually forming connections with the people. I'm not saying bunking.
Still forming connections with people on social media.
No, actually, what he means that since he's talking about slopping away from online classes, he's not saying bunking is good. He's right now we are not considering the part of bunking. What we are considering is social media right now. Once he says that missing online class is bad, that doesn't mean he's promoting bunking. He also means that bunking is bad, but he's also talking about how social media can lead to lack of online classes.
I mean, don't you all admit that during the online classes, when the teacher used to be like, "Are you there? Are you there?" We're still busy in our own Instagram or whatever.
But then what about, so what is your alternative? What is your take on that?
Exactly.
So
like-
do you feel that there should have been no online classes? Because
No.
because of that, we would have missed 2 years of our whole lives, and I mean, that would have been too much of a waste. I feel like.
Would you rather like they don't go to school at all, or they like go to school at least like a few times, like
But
even
that was
online?
not
if it is?
possible, right?
What
Actually,
are-
Exactly.
What our aim today is not telling people to stop using social media. It's about creating awareness on how it can affect. It's about creating awareness to the parents, to the students, to the children, to the teachers and everybody else. We do not mean that you should stop using social media. I myself use social media, but I know when to do and when not to. Similarly,
So
here
you
what
have
our
that
point
balance,
is,
right?
that is the
But
balance.
does
that's
that-
exactly what we are
But
talking
it
about.
depends.
And what
It depends on the person. Like
Exactly.
just as you
and
said,
what
you
the
have that
majority of
balance.
students could not do during lockdown was create a balance between social media and
Exactly.
But
That's
Then
not
that is their
social
personal
media
problem.
control. That's not
personal
social
choice.
It is for them to sort out.
Most, how many of us our year had 100% attendance during online classes?
No one, because that is simply not
You
possible.
don't even have that in offline
Exactly.
classes.
I have
Exactly.
78 out of 78 classes in offline.
So
Well, that's on
fine.
you.
See, this is personal experience, right? It's subjective. You can't, just because you attended most of your classes doesn't mean that I would attend mine, right? It
Exactly.
really depends on
You
person
should
to
attend
person.
yours.
Okay, no,
But it's not always a question of like I did this and they did not. Like people
It's
differ.
about what I have done is something better than what others did, and others should also do it. I'm trying to promote what I did, so I'm trying to educate others what is right.
People might have been utilizing their time better than you attending classes. Maybe they were attending to something more important.
What can be more important than attending
See,
school?
I feel like there are both good and negative impacts to social media, right? So that is what we're discussing today. But we can't just say that what you think is good for everybody. So it's all others people opinions and their thoughts and views on that topic that make that topic what it is. I mean, for them it might be a bad thing, but for you it might be a good thing, right? So there are this is, as she said already, it's a subjective topic. So we can't really say that what is good for you is good for everybody. I mean,
Okay,
sure,
so
you should promote
Don't
it.
you think like social media was the main distraction? I mean, we all would admit this, that we all are in 11th grade, right? So in 9th grade we have missed and we were distracted by the social media, and we are struggling because of that now. We have to go back to that
Add to what
syllabus
she
of
said,
9th grade.
every coin has two sides, right? But the side of social media that you choose to be on is in your own hands.
I am in 9th grade. Like I have seen like many. So I have seen many of my colleagues and like my batchmates constantly on social media. Whenever we go out as friends and like like a party together, like we are not like going like seeing things and buying things. We are just constantly scrolling to our phones and like showing us our memes and everything.
Are you guys good friends, or is it just like we've recently met?
Like it's every friendship like I have and like everybody.
So
has.
that is an experience when I'm with.
That is a lack of familiarity, and also
It's because of social media that we are like
No,
losing.
Well,
when
that
I'm
is your
with-
own
when I'm with
self-control,
my
which is
friends,
lacking.
I wouldn't touch my phone. I forget it exists.
exactly.
Sorry to say, but like in our new generation, not the old generation, we have
With your generation.
so the social media has been throughout from our like since we were kids. Now like social media is like part of our life.
So that was wrong
But-
to introduce social media
Exactly.
when you were a child. We don't support giving a social media to a child who
So
is
children
maybe
should not
6
attend
years
online
old.
classes?
Sorry?
Children should not attend online classes?
Look, the
Online
necessity is
classes
a
are
necessity.
the only form of
Exactly.
social media.
See, when
That's
you
one
were in the
aspect of it.
pandemic, then there was no other alternative other than to attend online classes. Right now, you don't need to have online classes unless it's an absolute necessity. So offline classes and online classes are a very separate issue.
Okay, so basically nowadays a moiety of youngsters are so indulged in social media that they have no time left for the real-time interactions. I mean, they're the youngsters who are supposed to lead our country, but nowadays they pay so much attention to the trends on social media that they're addicted to it. What's your say on that?
I have a question. You say that they're supposed to lead the country, but if they're just living the real world life, they're interacting with a very small circle. Like at max, you can interact with your entire school. Like if like you have that level of social capacity. But with social media, you get to know everything that's happening in your entire country, which makes you like capable of being a leader because you know what's going on.
Exactly, it helps bring so much of awareness about topics which you didn't know earlier. You know, things like which were out of your comfort zone, things which you normally never know about, normally are never interested about. But somehow through social media, you maybe talk to someone who has a different opinion, or you read something which is has popped up on your Instagram, and you see that okay, this is something which I didn't know previously, but now I do know it, and it has helped broaden my horizon and provide a more holistic view to certain topics in life.
Yeah, it
So
has
it's
also
always not
helped build global relationships. You see, most political leaders have the social media platform to advocate for what they have done, and that way it's built so many more relationships than it would by just a person-to-person communication.
I would like to speak regarding a topic. Most of the leaders do not have their social media account. They are handled by their PAs or
I
other
agree.
But the
I
PA
agree.
They have
It is
never-
represents the
right?
leaders.
They
worldview.
have never gone onto the social media.
How
Like
do
you
you know
mentioned,
that is the case?
that is the case with everybody. Like even the
Okay, suppose even if that
even
is
the
the-
celebrities do not have social media.
Irrelevant,
It's handled
irrelevant
by
to
their
whether they are
PAs
using it.
in general.
They have a platform. Their
It
work is
represents
being showcased on social media. We're aware of what they're doing. We're aware of all the attributes they're including
No,
into
but
their
how do you know
life.
any of that is true?
Because
How do
we
you
can
know any
see
of
real
those
world
attributes are
impact.
true? How do you know that that's actually their work, not
Actually-
just showcase?
Exactly.
Nobody knows that at the end of the day, no doubt. But what we do know is what we work with. We can't think of the hypothetical situation that, okay, maybe what if. We don't work on what ifs. We work on what we
Yeah,
know.
I could
You
make
guys-
up I could make up a scenario and tell you. How
You-
could you confirm or deny that I did that or not?
Okay.
You guys are the real world.
What
You
is
should
better
focus
to
on what you
trust?
do.
If I tweet that I have done this work or some other person looks at me doing something, which is more trustable according to you? Is it that tweet that I did or is the physical one?
But you
that I
can't
did
be.
that person
Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, you go ahead.
No, it's the same point. I think we both are trying to say that you can't really see, what everyone else is doing in the real world. However, in the virtual world, you can see that there are so many people having different opinions, doing different things, and you have that access to information. Most importantly.
See, virtual world is helping you. See, we're not see what you do in the real world. The virtual world is helping others to make people like to make the point reach other people, like to a more broader population, right? So we're not saying that not everything on social media is not real,
When people
right?
post on Instagram or Twitter or any of the social platforms, they face hatred and trolls, and that ultimately questions on their own social confidence and worth. What
Do
about
you-
that?
Are you saying
Okay.
that? Are you saying that people don't get bullied in real life?
Exactly. Ragging
Again.
and like
It's easier
and
to
like
Again,
mocking
mentioning
and so
somebody
many other things.
online.
She's saying that trolling is bad. She's not saying ragging is good. What we are talking about right now is only on social media. You cannot do ragging.
What
on
what
in
we're
real
trying
life
to
or
say
social
is that
media.
are you trying to say that ragging does not happen in real
I
life?
said physical ragging is not possible on social media, right?
Right.
That's
What-
something different. That
what-
comes into cyberbullying.
what we're trying to say is that there's like two sides of the coin on like both sides, in the real world and in the virtual world. There's like bullying on social media, but there's worse bullying in the real world as well. What would you rather, like someone punches you in the face or someone says something mean to you on the internet? I would rather prefer the
I would
second
choose
one.
none of those. It's not, if I say that...
So you
ragging-
prefer to not interact socially at all?
No, listen to me. When I say that I do not accept cyberbullying, I do not mean that I accept physical abuse. I do not say that I accept physical ragging. If I'm against physical ragging, that means I'm also against cyberbullying. It's not that I have to choose in one of them.
Absolutely.
Why do I have to
That
choose
is the
one?
ideal world. We wish we could live in such a world. I wish that I could be on social media where nobody, talks rude to me. I wish I could go into the class and no one criticizes me on anything. But that is not what happens in real
It's
life.
not your choice to face it, but it's your choice to be against it or stand for it. When I say I'm against both of them, it does not mean that if I'm facing physical ragging, I'm okay with it, or if I'm facing cyberbullying, I'm okay with it. I'll stand against in both the ways, right? If I'm saying ragging is bad, I'm also saying that cyberbullying is bad, and you have to make a point how I can counterfeit that.
It's okay, like it's about your mental training. When you choose to use a social media platform, you have to create a mindset and then go on it. You can't just be blaming everyone that they trolled me or they did something to me.
Yeah, but
you have to
can't
be ready for
control
that.
others'
Also-
actions, right?
Yeah, many
You
young
can take action. The social media platform provides you with action. You can report, you can blog, you can
Exactly.
you can
But
complain
that does
about
not
it.
help.
Cyberbullying
And-
does a lot of
That
this
is
heart
bring
and mind.
awareness. People just
So that's the point. If you're choosing to use social media, then you have to mentally train yourself. You have to face something.
Exactly.
You don't have
it's
a
a choice. It's not like we're imposing it on you.
You
It's not
don't-
that you have to use it. You're using it because you want to. So if it has side effects, you face them.
You don't have a choice to report or block someone in real life. You simply can't do that. You can like issue a restraining order, but that has like a really complicated procedure. But on social media, there's just so many things you can do. There are cyberbullying laws. There's just so many people you can consult about this. You have so much more freedom of choice in social media that you just cannot like. Okay, if you've ever been cyberbullied, it's like a once in a lifetime case, or like if you're unlucky enough, like twice or thrice in a lifetime. But you can't just black out the entire like good part of social media and say that it's bad because I got bullied. Someone called me a name, called me an ugly name or something. Exactly. So
Even if you
can't
get
just-
bullied once,
yeah.
you can complain and then you learn. It's not repetitive. If it once happened, you learn through it and you know what not
but
to
I
do.
feel like if this happens in person, you become a different person, right? Because you go through that experience.
So
and
what's
that-
to say that you don't go through that experience in an online
You
platform?
can take
See, on
precautions.
social-
Okay, if someone's calling me names, I have the choice to delete the app. I have the choice to put my phone away. In real life, if I'm being bullied in my classroom, what am I supposed to do?
Then you stand up for
In
yourself.
social
and you
media-
bully
If
them.
you stand up for
We can
yourself, you
stand
will
up
get
on
into
social
trouble.
As you
media
said-
also. Exactly. We can stand up there.
As
because
you
social
said-
media
Yes,
is
let him make his point.
As
sorry.
you said that if you're getting cyberbullied, we have option. Yes, I'll tell you the option: delete social media. As you only said it's the
That's
option to
not
delete the
really
app.
the only
You just
option.
mentioned you have an option to delete the app.
You
That's
do.
the exact
Yes,
thing I
you
said.
are saying-
That is your option.
That's the
Social
exact thing
media
I
is
said.
subjective. It is your choice to. No one's forcing you to be on social media.
Sometimes we like to have to connect with friends. Like I joined social media because my friends were on it. Like I feel marginalized. Like they are not including me in their talks.
Good
so
point.
we have
Exactly.
to join
So there
social media.
is
Yeah.
a
Yes.
pressure
Yes,
to be
peer
on social
pressure
media
also
because of
involved.
our
Exactly.
peers. And
Like, and also our aim today is not telling people to use social media or do not use it. What our aim is to tell people what are the pros and cons of the social media.
Okay, I'll give
Then
you
that
a
is
very,
not a debate. That's a
I'll give
discussion.
you a very real world scenario. We're all going to go to college soon, right? Some of you might go abroad to the US, UK, Canada, or maybe some other city other than Delhi, for example, right? How do you think that if you don't have social media, how will you connect and keep those relationships with your friends, parents, relatives, teachers alive? How will you look into your past life and which is also your current life in a certain sense? Because so many of your memories are with those people, right? So how do you feel you can keep that connection alive if there's no social media?
We are not saying that we have to quit social media. Like we are saying that there's a study done by the National Library of Medicine that on 2023, but for the US government, they found that people maintaining a relationship on social media feel lonelier than those like do in real life. We are not saying that they should completely like
But
leave social media.
To
It's
add to his
important.
point, I'll say there's a term called escape route.
Yes.
So don't you think social media gives you that escape route?
Exactly.
And
It
then you
does.
go into your shell instead of
Exactly.
We're
opening
not-
up more.
See,
You go into that shell
Okay, see,
zone
so
of
for
yours.
example, See, for introverted people, it's difficult for them to communicate face to face. See, I was once an introverted person, and during the lockdown, even I became a very closed off person, right?
Okay.
So it was really after the lockdown, where the lockdown was put down and we were allowed to go to school again. So I felt very strange because the people who I thought were my friends, it was very awkward for me. That situation was making me have social anxiety as well, right? So I feel it through social media because there were just a few, like 1 or 2 people who I was talking to, because I talked to them through social media for the 2 years. See, but along with that, there are so many social introverted people who just need a little push to come out of their shells, right? And most of the time, it's not really much possible to interact that much in face to face than to open up in social media.
I mean,
But they can't avoid that, dear.
So it's
They
about
can't avoid
balance.
it in
So-
real.
What we're trying to
So,
say,
wait,
like-
one second. Social media provides you a platform.
Hmm.
Now, if you want to use that platform, it's on you. No
Right.
one's forcing you to do it.
Okay, fine.
Even if
There's
there
peer
is
pressure to be
even if
there
there
is
is
peer
pressure, it is
Hey,
your
if you
choice
have
just to
your
come to
friends
it.
who are giving to it.
forcing you.
No, what,
Exactly,
so
there is
would you
no one
rather
physically
be-
forcing you
would
to
you
do.
rather be zoned out by a friend? Would you rather be isolated than given to peer pressure and get into something that's more interactive? Rather
So
than
you're
get that
focusing on the
loneliness, that
possible
bubble.
detrimental effects here.
So then their friend circles, I'm sorry to say,
Yeah,
but
but
their friend
exactly.
circle is the problem.
Reconsider.
If
You have a
if
shitty
your
friend
friend
circle.
circle
I wanted
is
to mention
focusing
that
on
after the lockdown, you felt that anxiety in talking to somebody.
Yeah.
Rather,
Good.
if you would have had a real-time conversation.
But you
with somebody,
couldn't have
But you
had that
can't
because
have
you're
real-time
still
conversation.
in the pandemic.
People got too used to texting each other, so that
But you
She
and I
said
don't
that she
know.
felt that way because she did not text
voicing
people.
social media has made people
One at
more
a time.
introvert.
You
Okay,
guys
so
are
I
looking at a world that never existed.
Like you gave you gave an example of yourself that before the lockdown you were an introverted person, but social media made you extroverted. That's a very good thing. I really appreciated that you made good use of it. But that's your personal experience, right?
Yeah.
I've seen people, very good speakers, very extroverted people, becoming huge introverts after lockdown just because they felt. You said that social media had connected more people. They felt left over because they do not talking in person and talking on text is completely different. People who use too much social media have forgotten how to talk to in person.
See, I feel like social media, from an introverted person to becoming someone who is slightly extroverted, I feel that social media provided a platform for me to take the first step. Alright, so for me, just talking to someone other than one of my family members, it was a big deal. And after I started talking to them, I feel like after I've been provided that platform, when I started, slowly, I was able to talk to people face to face as well. So I feel that social media just provides the first platform for you to take that step. And after that, it's about how you take the effects of social. See, everything has a negative consequence and a positive consequence. So it's not about how that there is no such thing in the whole world that could have just positive effects.
Yeah, but
Can I say
the
something?
negative, the negative effects are they're like too much, like overweighing the positive effects. That's why we are standing in social media is making people
Look, that's
socially
your
inactive.
opinion. I personally
Right.
believe that social
How-
media's positive impacts are significant and multifaceted.
Also,
And again, we've mentioned a couple of times, social media is subjective.
Okay, you talked about anxiety. Don't you believe that there are a lot of health issues that people are facing because of social media?
Exactly, because you said like we're gonna talk to our friends to sort of come out of that shell of being introverted. So first of all, I would like to rebut that because you said that social media is a platform that gives us a sort of how to say so it gives us an ability to come out of that shell of being introverted. But isn't it easier for an introverted person to stay on social media, to prioritize chatting instead of talking? So if we take calls, for example, calls can also be regarded as real world conversations. Because let's say me and you, let's say right now, this was happening on text. It would be way more different than it is happening right now. But even on a call. Because on a call we are ourselves. But when we are texting, we are hidden behind a screen. So I think in reality it's not us that's texting. It's
Okay.
I think you're confusing social media with texting. It's not just like you're typing a message and you're sending it. You're like sharing videos, you're doing calls. You can call on Instagram, you can video call on Instagram. There is just so much scope to in social media.
But how much calling actually happens on, like you
I
tell
personally
yourself.
call very frequently,
Yeah,
and I
again,
think people share
subjective.
that.
Okay, she
Subjective.
wants to make a point here, I
Okay,
believe.
what about the issues, the health issues which social media is making? I mean, we all are so indulged in it that we, for example, when we are done with our studying for an hour, we pick up our phone and we're like, okay, we'll see this for 5 minutes. And the time passes and passes, and we never know. I mean, how it gets to 2 hours. And also, we skip our sleeps for it. We sleep late. We sleep at 2
It's
at
about the
night.
control and the balance that you have.
That's
Like,
what we're not able to make. So it's leading to a lot
So
of
I
health
feel-
That's
disorders.
for your lack of control.
Well,
It's
that's
not
your
social
lack of
media we
control.
should blame for.
I mean, if you watch TV for 2 hours, then you can't blame social media for
For
it.
example,
And-
sometimes I'm taking a break, I'll go play the piano or the guitar, and I'll say, oh, 10 minutes, and it's like suddenly 2 hours. It's not social media here, it's an instrument.
Also, social media has a lot of like opportunities to grow your like health in as well. So like you can like watch fitness influencers and stuff, which I agree there is a bad side to them, but a lot of them motivate you to like better yourself by going to the
Also,
gym
what
and
about
adopting
the
healthy
stress? What
lifestyle.
about the stress the influencers are facing? Like influencers are supposed to post regularly to
So-
maintain their followers. So they're stressing about what content they should post or how people will react. So
See,
what
it's
about the
their
stress
choice.
levels?
See, but it's their
mutual
choice.
support. It's about mutual support. The influencer, the followers. If they're
Exactly,
following
but
someone,
what if
But
those
the
followers don't
influencers-
support?
Yeah, the influencers will always be under pressure to post something every day. And how you said that we can follow fitness influencers, but most of the time, fitness influencers aren't actually what they seem. For example, I'll take a recent example, Liver King. So he told the entire world that he's natural, but in the end, he was full of steroids. And
but
that
then
gave
again,
him
there are
pressure.
people like Ankit and Pooja who are actually influencers. Then you cannot differentiate between them.
So I would just like to highlight upon one last point. So this year's G20 summit's motto was Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one world, one family, one future. Essentially, the world is our family. And social media directly embraces this idea by motivating more and more people to feel united, thus helping in the process of nation building and also feeling a feeling of pride among citizens of our country.
To that, I would like to add that social media is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a long-term game. Ultimately, it's not about social media making us less sociable. It's about how we choose to manage our time. And if used mindfully, it can actually help us connect to communities, foster collaboration, and strengthening our bonds.
You know,
Okay, what about the. Yeah, go ahead, please go ahead.
you know, social media is a boon. It's a sign of the times. You just cannot ignore it. It allows for more user engagement, for people to share their opinions and meet a broader audience. It gives them the choice to connect. It allows for globalization. There's campaigning like the Me Too movement, which happened almost entirely online. It gives people something to relate with each other, like the Draw My Life trend, which was very popular. And you know, online and offline, it's just your choice. They're both in your line. So, as she said, Vasudev Kutumbakam.
Okay, guys,
Now,
real
we
world.
forgot a very important point that it's not just our mental health, it's not just our physical health, it's also our private information that's at stake, right? With connected to an open platform, and just a click of a button, and you can access anybody's information, and that's private.
Well, it's your
Right,
choice to
so-
post. It's your
Right, so,
choice.
so
It's,
now we are looking at the final comments here. So maybe you can make that point and give your final comments. We're done with the virtual and now it's your turn to give the
Alright,
final
then
comments here.
we're not, I would just like to conclude by saying that
Right.
we're not far away from the time when this comment saying that man is a social animal will change to man is an anti-social animal, and that's very true in our, like in this generation at least.
Okay. Anybody else wants to make
I
a
would like to end my words by saying that there's a book which is iGen. It mentions that by the next decade, the youngsters of our world will know the right emoticon for a situation, but not the right facial expression.
And also, when we are on social media and we are inherently procrastinating, it is the anger we develop within ourselves because of procrastinating that makes us antisocial, lethargic, and hostile. So, humans, which I think Aristotle said is a
Yes,
social animal,
Exactly.
becomes lethargic, hostile, and antisocial. So, is that not true that because of the consequences of social media, humans are becoming antisocial?
Good.
All I want to say, like, as too much chocolate is bad, so is too much time on social media. So, like, and studies show that from the Harvard University and University of Pennsylvania, we have to limit our social time. So, like, we will like engage more. It's better for our mental health. Like, it will help us to like reduce depression, loneliness, and things. Like in the digital age, the negative impacts of social media on human connections, like academic performances, health issues, and like other things are like clear. But it's crucial for individuals to recognize the drawbacks and take action against it.
I would like to mark the end of this conversation by a saying by my dad. You,
That's great.
you try to spend the amount of time you spend on social media playing on a playground, and you'll realize how beautiful life is.
That's great. On that note, well, this was a great show, and to sum it all up, I would say that being social is important, whether it's over social media or in physical world, But at the same time, making a balance of the two is also in our own hands. It is our responsibility to make sure that while tweeting or posting a picture online, we do not forget the rest of the world around us. So on that note, I'll take your leave for now, but we'll be back with some more of such topics and youngsters in the next edition of School of Thought. Till then, keep watching for the space. Namaskar.